Former U.S. President Donald Trump has once again taken center stage in the global political spotlight, this time with an astonishing and unexpected confession that has stunned both allies and critics. In a bold and controversial address, Trump not only requested a formal apology from the president of Iran, Ebrahim Raisi, but also went as far as to admit publicly and explicitly that the United States of America has played a direct role in fueling the long-standing tensions and warlike atmosphere between Israel and Iran. This statement, whether seen as a political strategy, a shift in perspective, or an emotional reflection, is unprecedented in modern American foreign policy rhetoric. Today, we'll take you deep into the implications, reactions, and the ripple effect of this confession, a moment that could mark a turning point in the region's troubled history. Let's begin by understanding exactly what Trump said. In a closed-door session leaked by a senior diplomat and later confirmed in a brief press briefing, Trump stated, quote, "We've made mistakes, big ones. And some of those mistakes have led directly to what we see between Israel and Iran today. I believe if we had taken a different path decades ago, things would have turned out better for both nations." I asked the Iranian leadership to reflect on this, and I believe, just as I'm willing to acknowledge America's part, they too should apologize, not just to me, but to the world. These words sent shockwaves through Washington, Tel Aviv, and Tehran. To grasp the full impact of this statement, we need to examine the historical context that Trump is referencing. For decades, the United States has been deeply involved in the Middle East with a firm alliance with Israel, offering military, economic, and diplomatic support since the 1940s. Meanwhile, Iran's 1979 Islamic Revolution, which overthrew the American-backed Shah, created a hostile relationship with Washington that has never fully recovered. From the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s, during which the U.S. tacitly supported Saddam Hussein, to crippling sanctions, drone strikes, nuclear negotiations, and proxy wars across the region, the U.S. and Iran have remained locked in a cycle of confrontation. And throughout it all, Israel has been a constant factor, whether as a direct actor or as an issue of contention. Trump's claim that America has fueled the Israel-Iran conflict reflects on policies that have prioritized Israeli defense at the cost of diplomatic relations with Iran. Under Trump's presidency, the U.S. unilaterally withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal in 2018, reimposing sanctions and escalating tensions. But for Trump now, post-presidency, to not only ask for an apology from the Iranian president, but also accept his responsibility, even partially, is a radical deviation from previous narratives. So, what exactly does this mean for U.S. foreign policy and for the geopolitical climate in the Middle East? Firstly, let's talk about Iran's response. President Ebrahim Raisi responded swiftly but firmly. In a televised statement, Raisi remarked, "We have always maintained that the United States has interfered in the sovereignty of the nations of this region." Mr. Trump's confession, though late, is a reflection of the truth. However, apologies must be followed by actions, not just words. Iranian state media called Trump's remarks a rare moment of truth from the heart of the American empire, while some Iranian hardliners dismissed the statement as political theater. On the American side, reactions were divided. Some Republicans accused Trump of betraying American strength and undermining allies like Israel. One senator called the statement dangerous, delusional, and damaging to American credibility. However, others, especially those in progressive and anti-war circles, praised the move as a step toward healing and diplomacy. Former U.S. officials who served under both Republican and Democratic administrations offered mixed views. Some saw Trump's statement as an unintentional admission of failure, while others believed it might open the door for a new kind of dialogue, one built on mutual recognition rather than constant hostility. But perhaps the most surprising fallout has come from Israel. Several Israeli politicians, including some in Netanyahu's own Likud party, expressed concern over what they called Trump's naive and harmful messaging. A former Israeli defense minister said, "Any narrative that shifts blame away from Iran is a threat to our national security." Meanwhile, protests erupted in Tel Aviv, with both pro-Palestinian and anti-government activists calling on Israel to rethink its role in the conflict, especially in light of Trump's remarks. Now the big question remains, why now? Why did Trump, a man known for his aggressive foreign policy, his unwavering support for Israel, and his hard stance on Iran, choose this moment to speak this way? Analysts suggest a few possibilities. Political strategy. As Trump eyes another run for presidency, he may be trying to rebrand himself as a peace-seeking statesman, hoping to appeal to a broader base. Personal reflection. Some insiders claim Trump has privately expressed regrets about how his administration handled Iran and the broader Middle East. Leverage or distraction. It could also be a calculated move to shift narratives, domestically or internationally, perhaps in response to legal, political, or diplomatic pressures. Whatever the reason, one thing is clear. Trump's confession and his unusual demand for an apology from Iran's president, has stirred the global pot in ways we haven't seen in years. Is this the beginning of a new diplomatic path between two longtime rivals? Or just another chapter in an unpredictable legacy? Only time will tell. But what's certain is that the world is now watching more closely than ever before. In a separate but equally stunning development, sources close to the former U.S. administration have leaked details of a secret memorandum. ALLEGEDLY signed by Donald Trump during his final weeks in office. This document, now under investigation by independent journalists and international watchdogs, outlines what appears to be a back-channel proposal to both Iran and Israel, one that could have dramatically altered the course of Middle Eastern diplomacy, according to the leak. Trump had instructed a special team of envoys to explore what he reportedly called a grand reset, a proposal in which Iran would agree to significantly scale back its regional military activities, including its support for groups in Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen, in exchange for a gradual lifting of sanctions and indirect recognition from Israel as a regional power. Yes, recognition from Israel. The document reportedly includes a clause suggesting that, under certain conditions, the Trump administration would encourage Israel to initiate non-hostile acknowledgments of Iran's regional influence, particularly in the form of limited bilateral talks on water security, trade routes, and counterterrorism, all conducted via third-party intermediaries such as Oman or Qatar. This bombshell memo never reached the public until now. So what happened? Why didn't this grand reset move forward? Former officials point to internal resistance from hardline factions in both the U.S. and Israel. Netanyahu's government at the time reportedly rejected the entire premise, calling it strategically incoherent and a gift to a regime that sponsors terrorism. Meanwhile, top Pentagon advisors expressed concerns that the plan would be perceived as weakness, especially in the wake of the assassination of General Qasem Soleimani in 2020, which had pushed U.S.-Iran tensions to the brink of war. Adding to the chaos, Several high-ranking officials in Trump's own cabinet, including then-Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, allegedly warned that moving forward with such a plan without public debate could trigger backlash from Congress and the intelligence community. By January 2021, the idea was buried. Now, as this hidden chapter of diplomacy surfaces, analysts are re-evaluating Trump's legacy in the Middle East. Was he, behind closed doors, attempting something far more transformative than his public rhetoric ever suggested? Iranian media has seized upon the leak as evidence that even U.S. leadership knew that direct confrontation could not continue forever. Israeli outlets, however, are split, with some condemning the idea as betrayal and others quietly acknowledging that such bold diplomacy might have actually worked, if given time. Back in Washington, neither Trump nor his closest aides have commented officially on the document, though one former diplomat anonymously confirmed its authenticity, saying, greater than Trump liked the big moves. He wanted a Nobel Prize. He didn't care how radical the idea was if it could make history. Whether this was a genuine peace attempt or a vanity-driven longshot, the revelation adds a new layer of complexity to the already tangled web of US-Iran-Israel relations. And perhaps, most importantly, it raises an even bigger question. How? Many opportunities for peace have been lost in the shadows of politics and power. More stories are expected to emerge as investigations into this leaked document continue. Stay with us as we uncover more from the archives of diplomacy, strategy, and secrets. In a deeply symbolic and politically charged moment, former President Donald Trump reportedly offered to visit Tehran under certain conditions, an unprecedented gesture that would make him the first former U.S. president to step foot in the Islamic Republic since its 1979 revolution. According to insiders close to Trump's post-presidency circle, the proposal wasn't just idle talk. Sources confirm that through back-channel mediators in Europe, possibly Switzerland or Austria, Trump expressed a willingness to travel to Iran in a private capacity, not as a diplomat, but as a gesture of historic reconciliation. The conditions? Iran would have to publicly acknowledge that it no longer seeks the destruction of Israel, even symbolically, and agree to host a people-to-people summit featuring cultural and economic discussions, not political speeches. Iranian officials, while cautious, reportedly discussed the idea in closed sessions, especially among the more pragmatic elements within President Raisi's cabinet. Though never formalized, the thought of Donald Trump, a man once hated across Iran for tearing up the nuclear deal and authorizing the strike on General Soleimani, walking the streets of Tehran under tight security, stunned both supporters and critics. This astonishing proposal, though still unofficial, shows a different side of Trump, one not just obsessed with media headlines or election campaigns, but possibly driven by a personal mission to cement a legacy of bold, unexpected diplomacy. Analysts point to Trump's past behavior to support this idea. Remember his surprise meeting with North Korea's Kim Jong-un at the DMZ? Or his readiness to meet Taliban leaders at Camp David? It wouldn't be out of character. But there's more. According to a leaked communication from a high-level European diplomat involved in facilitating secret talks, Trump allegedly said, "What if I land in Tehran one day? Cameras rolling? The world watching. Peace is made not in palaces, but on the streets. I could be the one who ends 40 years of hate." Those words, if confirmed, show just how serious he might have been. Predictably, reactions were intense. Iranian hardliners were quick to condemn the very idea, calling it a circus and warning the government not to fall into a Western trap of normalization through celebrity politics. One conservative cleric was quoted saying, "This man cannot wash the blood off his hands with a handshake." In contrast, a growing number of Iranian youth on social media expressed fascination. Hashtags like #Trump in Tehran and #UnlikelyPeace began trending briefly before being censored in some platforms inside Iran. In Washington and Tel Aviv, officials viewed the plan with suspicion and disbelief. A senior Israeli analyst called the rumored visit a security nightmare and a propaganda dream for the Iranian regime. But some U.S. strategists argued differently. They believe a visit like this, even symbolic, could soften decades of mistrust between the two nations, if handled with extreme care. As of now, no official statement has been released by either Trump's team or the Iranian government. But several sources claim that initial preparations were discussed, including possible visa negotiations, venue scouting, and coordination with international peace organizations to frame the visit as a cultural, not political act. If Trump were to move forward with such a visit, it would not only shake the core of traditional diplomacy, but also force the world to reassess how peace can begin, not through treaties, but through unpredictable human drama. For now, the plan remains suspended, a dream or a threat, depending on who you ask. But the idea is out there. As global media continues to reel from Trump's unprecedented statements and proposals, yet another revelation has surfaced, one that could reshape how future generations view America's role in decades of Middle Eastern turmoil. According to declassified notes obtained by investigative journalists through the Freedom of Information Act, Trump, during his final months in office, privately ordered a comprehensive review of U.S. covert operations in the Middle East, particularly those targeting Iran over the last 30 years. This review, known internally as Operation Mirror, was reportedly commissioned not just to assess military effectiveness, but to evaluate ethical and legal boundaries crossed during decades of intelligence activities. What emerged from that review, according to insiders, was a damning and uncomfortable picture, not only of American strategies, but of institutional secrecy, unacknowledged civilian casualties, economic sabotage, and media manipulation. In short, Trump may have realized, albeit too late, that America's long-standing interference had done more to radicalize, destabilize, and provoke than to protect or contain. A high-ranking intelligence officer involved in the project, speaking under condition of anonymity, said, the former president was stunned by the depth of what he saw. There were operations that Congress never approved, stories we fed the press that were false, and covert alliances that contradicted our own public stance. This internal shock reportedly led to a chilling line written in Trump's own hand, scribbled in the margins of the final review folder, "No wonder they hate us. We played God too long." For a president known for his tough rhetoric, especially on Iran, this confession is both surreal and deeply revealing. Though this review was never made public, portions of it have now been leaked to international media outlets, causing renewed scrutiny of America's intelligence operations not just under Trump, but across multiple administrations, Republican and Democrat alike. Iranian officials, upon learning about Operation Mirror, issued a bold statement. We have always said the truth would eventually rise. The people of the region have suffered for too long under the illusion of freedom while being suffocated by foreign plots. The United Nations Human Rights Council has already begun reviewing the leaked contents and is considering a special session on unauthorized foreign interventions in the Middle East, naming both the U.S. and other Western allies as parties of interest. Asterisk. Meanwhile, political debate inside the U.S. is intensifying. Asterisk. Progressive leaders are calling for a full public release of Operation Mirror and congressional hearings into past CIA and Pentagon operations in the region. Conservatives, however, argue that such disclosures weaken national security and dishonor those who served. Asterisk. But perhaps the most haunting reaction comes not from politicians, but from American veterans who served in Iraq and Afghanistan. One veteran tweeted, "Greater than we were told we were fighting evil. Now I wonder if we were just cleaning up someone else's mess. Or worse, making it bigger." Asterisk. This chilling chapter adds a new dimension to the already shocking developments surrounding Trump's apology narrative and his confession regarding America's role in the Israel-Iran conflict. Asterisk. It's no longer just about one president's words. It's about decades of actions, secrets, and consequences finally coming to light. Asterisk. Is the world ready to confront the truth? Asterisk. Stay with us, because this story is just beginning. Asterisk.